So I was feeling good enough where things were going with the math that I decided to go ahead and try and mess around with Mad Coder What Codes at Midnight. Um, his video on random data, his episode 1 of information theory. So I was feeling pretty good about the math. I wanted to continue on. Um, Now when I get to the end of this, I'm going to have more problems with figuring out how to work the math. Um, Kind of going back and forth between different ways of looking at the math. I'm having trouble with conversion, I guess. I don't know. We'll get there. First, we're going to talk a little bit about random data. Now, when we roll a die a bajillion times, we're going to have the number 6 come up exactly 1/6 of the time. So it's not very random, right? It's a die roll, but it's very predictable. All the numbers are going to come up exactly 1/6 of the time, according to the law of large numbers. So I prefer to think of randomness as frequencies rather than chance. I think it's what Matt Coder, what Goes at Midnight talks about probabilism, and probability is a subset of mathematics, and many things in the world are well described by probability. So I don't really have any arguments there. Um, so first thing we do is we import the tools as usual. I've got Pylab inline, which has the magic commands, which is something I'd like to learn more about. We're importing NumPy, and so that's cool. I'm learning more about NumPy. And we're also going to import random, just like he does in the original video. So next we're going to define the function create dataset. This is pretty much just like Mad Coder Codes at Midnight's script. I used a lot more comments because I'm getting familiar with the commands, and so I need to make notes as far as what the commands do, so I can keep track of what's going on. And then I did change the T range. In Mad Coder's video, the T range was going from -20 to 20, and I changed it from going to 0 to 40. That way, it could stay in the positive quadrant, which would make things easier for what I was planning to do next. I did get stuck here for a long time because that last line that says return the function, I had that indented, and it didn't like that indentation, and took me a long time to find that bug. So that happens during programming. Sometimes one little thing can mess you up for a long time, but eventually I found it. Was like, oh, well, yeah, that's obvious. So then we plot the data, and as you can see, it's going up as we told to as a function of the square root of x, or no, x squared, and the variance increases as x increases. You say the randomness gets more, or volatility increases, or it's heteroscedastic. We can say all these things about the spread increases as the function grows larger. Okay, so here's the code that I got from the Mad Coder that talks about how to do a linear regression. Basically, we are fitting a line to the data. Now, this data is curving, and the line is straight, so it's not the best predictor. The Mad Coder does talk about this, and what he does is he fits a polynomial to the data. However, we need theory. If there's no theory telling us what the order of the polynomial should be, then we're just fitting a curve to the data. It probably has good prediction capabilities, but not good explanatory capabilities. I think you'll see what I mean as we go on through this video. But now, so instead of fitting a polynomial, we're going to use a different technique. And then the Mad Coder that codes at midnight has some code that we'll be able to take that line and show what that line is in terms of mathematical terms. I don't really understand this code. He didn't talk about it much. I can kind of follow along with it, but a lot of things with these percent signs that I don't quite understand. But it does work. And we get our equation, which is y is 42x minus 290. So that's the mathematical form of the prediction line. Okay, so here I'm going to do a little bit differently than MadCoder. Instead of fitting a polynomial to the data, I'm going to make the data more linear. Now, if we know that this data is based off a function of x squared. So if we took the square root of the data, then it would be more linear. And we could draw a line through it. Now, x squared doesn't come up in nature as much as something growing exponentially over time. So instead of making a prediction that the data is based off of x squared, I'm making a prediction that the data is based off of e to the x. And so to make it more linear, I'm going to go ahead and take the log of the data. So here I've got, it says manipulated data of I is the log of the randomized data. And then we go ahead and plot it with a prediction line. And as you can see, the line does go through the data better than before. Using the same code that MadCoder used before, we can get the mathematical form of the new line, which is shown here at the bottom. It's y equals 0.14x plus 2.65. Now, that line predicts our manipulated data, and in order to have it predict the actual data, I need to make a new function that will curve this line, and it'll be y equals e to the 0.14x plus 2.65. Basically take all that as the power of e, and should get a curvy line that fits the data pretty well, but this is where I'm getting stuck. So here's where I'm stuck. Trying to use maybe SymPy to solve it, and I define a function, expression goods, that's basically the y-intercept from coefficients plus the slope from coefficients times x, and then make a prediction that is e to the goods, print that, and then down at the bottom plot the prediction. Maybe eventually if I can get that to work. I don't know, it's saying that I can't use the operand that looks like the upward arrow for the to the power symbol for float, which is odd because float is how Python uses real numbers. It doesn't actually use real numbers. It uses something similar to real numbers that it calls float numbers. But I can't use them in a power or something. I just get confused again. And I've been trying a few different things to try and make it work, and it's not working. So I'm just feeling, I don't know, I need to probably read my book more. That might help. But I want to make a video before Sunday so that communication keeps going and you know where I'm at.